Hi. Okay, so we have a quick panel and a lot of people, so we're going to get right into it. I'd love to have each of you talk about how you found talent in the places that are not the coast that you're looking for people. You want to start, Tiffany?
Hi, good afternoon. My name's Tiffany, and I work at Zendesk, and our headquarters are in San Francisco. And roughly around 2014 was when we started to open an office in Madison, Wisconsin, and we have around 300 employees there and plan on growing that workforce population to about 500. Our origin story in Madison, I'll keep it brief because I know we have such a short panel, but it's kind of interesting. We were looking for, we're a customer support software company, and so a big thing for us is what's called follow the sun support. And so you sort of need every time zone covered if you're going to have excellent customer support for your customers. And we had a gap between, in our London office essentially, so because London came before Madison. And we needed an office to cover the hours of like 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. London time. I don't remember specifically. I know we needed a time zone covered. And so we just put, like at this time it was probably on Craigslist, we put a post up. This gentleman from the University of Madison, Wisconsin, who was working at the IT desk at the school answered, and Sean started working for us, and it worked out great. Then Sean started hiring a couple of his friends as the support was really working out for us. And lo and behold, we found out, because they happened to tweet a photo of themselves, that there were like 9 employees working out of this other guy's basement, essentially. And so we said, all right, we need to start opening up an office. Since that time, it originally started out as a customer support hub, and now we have marketing there, we have sales, we have success, we have some of our engineering operations there, which is really exciting for us. And we've just found it to be a great win for us. We were looking at other mid-sized cities. We were looking at Bozeman, Montana, and we were also looking at Austin, but it was Madison that I think really won us over and was so aligned with our culture and so aligned with the ecosystem that we have in San Francisco. And so it's one of our best success stories of the 12 offices we've opened up around the world.
Terry Cooper with Switch. I actually relocated here to Reno 2 years ago, moved my family from Denver, Colorado to a small version of Denver, and was amazingly impressed with the reception we got. And part of my responsibility and my peers at our Reno site is to build community outreach, but also to help grow the talent pool here. So Switch is based in Las Vegas. This was our second location. We very much wanted to stay in Nevada for another site because Nevada has, as you heard from our governor, been so accommodating, but so have our institutions of higher learning. So we work super closely with UNLV and College of Southern Nevada, Truckee Meadows Community College up here, University of Nevada, Reno, and also Nevada State College. And UNR just up here in Reno has an amazing computer science and engineering organization that we're getting, or department that we're getting great talent from. But there's a lot of physicians at Switch that don't require a 4-year degree. So we work with TMCC up here to help them understand exactly what it is that we're looking for in those degree programs. When we're hiring network engineers, we're looking for guys with certifications in networking and in storage systems. When we're hiring our critical systems team to keep our big power systems and cooling systems up to speed, we're looking for people with maybe associate's degrees and similar certifications. And as part of ensuring that those institutions know what we need skill-wise, we actually provided a chilling tower to each of College of Southern Nevada and TMCC College and our curriculum. So it's not just here's what we need, it's us showing them what exactly skill sets that we require. And one of the things I love about Switch and our CEO, Rob Roy, is he believes in a win-win-win situation. And what that drives is a win for the colleges because they've got a very appealing program, huge win for Switch, but also a huge win for our community because those same degrees and those same specializations are needed elsewhere. But I think the other thing that we have probably not talked as much about today is the non-technical skills. Despite this being a very electronic world, and I know my teens would much rather text with me at dinner than actually have a conversation at dinner, those interpersonal skills are really critical. And so based on feedback from our own teams of what's needed, we're providing that information as well. One of the things that we're very passionate about at Switch is STEAM. We think the arts is important simply because that provides for more well-rounded individuals, and that helps drive teamwork and collaboration and communication, and very, very critically, that whole-minded thinking that I know we need at Switch, and I think all of you need in employees as well.
I want to have you talk too about something that you mentioned before about how sometimes in the tech world, everyone knows that these certificates are great and you don't need a four-year degree, but parents aren't always on board with that idea. Maybe you could
It's a
speak to
great
that.
point. I think,
Yeah.
we're all used to, our kids go to high school, we want them to go to college. I have a 20-year-old who can't figure out what he wants to do with his life, and we're actually pushing him for some of these associates or certification programs. We have, generations of families who are finally at a point where I think they can afford to at least consider a degree, but there are so many, and we've heard many of these examples today, so many of us hiring that don't require those four-year degrees, or maybe just don't require them initially. Switch has a ton of outreach because part of it is educating parents. We work very closely with the First Robotics Institution or organization here in Nevada, because it's a fantastic way to get kids engaged early on, but also for parents to see that there's different types of career paths that can lead to very, very great long-term positions, because those pathways are not something that I think our parents understand. They're used to that, go to high school, go to college. And so I think for us, there's an opportunity as businesses to show them where those career paths can lie and that they lead to incredibly great opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And Dan, I know Zillow has a slightly different path. You've acquired companies in these different areas.
Yeah.
So let's hear about that.
Yeah, so we're actually, Zillow's just one of our 12 brands. Zillow Group, which is our parent company, makes up of B2C and B2B brands. And one of our strategies has been, when we acquire companies in various cities around the country, we don't shut down operations. So we're headquartered in Seattle, Washington, where the Zillow brand was founded. But two of our most successful acquisitions have been MoreTech, which is a mortgages platform that's based out of Lincoln, Nebraska. We have about 65 employees there. Anytime you look for the most current mortgage rate anywhere in America, it's really being driven by the MoreTech platform. And then another business, Loop, in Cincinnati, which is essentially closing software for real estate agents and home buyers. And statistically, somebody in this room has used it to close a real estate transaction. But what we've learned in our strategy is when you go and focus on great startups that have been started in places like Lincoln and Madison and Ann Arbor and Cincinnati, and you bring them into your organization, once you get through the messy work of sort of integrating their business, you find their capabilities. And the capabilities have been impressive in both of those locations. They were doing software development, they were doing customer and call center support, they were doing product management, they were doing marketing. And in both of those locations, we've begun to now radiate out from those core businesses and build kind of self-contained teams that are supporting other parts of the Zillow Group family of businesses. And so, for us, it wasn't just going out and trying to find a job or a certain type of worker. It was focusing on, taking some of the strength of businesses that were growing organically in these communities, whether that was through university partnerships or just great direct investment by savvy investors in those locations. And now we've ostensibly grown that headcount and found teams that were all ready to tackle the challenges of our business, but already shared the DNA of our company. And it's been a real success. And I think Cincinnati this year will get to 200 employees, where when we acquired that business, they had about 60 employees in Cincinnati, so almost tripling the headcount over the course of a couple of years. So it's been a great outcome for us, and it's been a great outcome for the people on the coasts who are designing products to hear the voices of different consumers in America. And I think that, I think like a lot of tech companies, the outcome of the election was quite startling, I think, to our employees in San Francisco, in Seattle, in New York. But we heard a lot of really interesting perspectives that we use in our product design and in the way that we touch the real estate community, which is probably one of the most representative industries in America because there's realtors in every town in America. So it's not only helped us on the technical deliver our product side, but it's helped us to really understand where our consumers are today, and to Tim's fascinating talk, where they are in relation to technology, which is, if you ever read the press about Zillow Group, that's a touchy relationship for us to manage.
That actually leads in perfectly to what I wanted to ask Tiffany to talk about too, that I know it's not just the logistical gap that the Madison office has kind of closed up, but also brought in some new perspectives for you guys as well.
Yeah, I think like what was most telling for us and what we learned that was most interesting in opening our Madison office and having it being such a wonderful center of employees for us is that you can find great talent everywhere. And I know that sounds really obvious, but when you are in San Francisco and you're working in Silicon Valley, it's really easy to get caught up that you can only get the best and the brightest here where the show is in San Francisco. And then you look around the office and you say, wait a minute, none of us are actually from San Francisco. I'm from Massachusetts, my husband's from Detroit, like our CEO's from Denmark. I mean, no one is from San Francisco, so why did we have that tunnel vision that talent isn't anywhere else? And so then not only were we able to see that there are great people everywhere, but there is something special about not asking people to relocate. And what we have in the Madison office that's so special is a lot of, not much turnover. We have a constant pipeline of talent. Tim O'Reilly speaking earlier about companies needing to do more than just make their bottom line. And one thing that we have at Zendesk that's really important is we are very aggressive with our social impact programs. And the first thing we do in every office that we open is we launch a foundation, we give money, we give hours. And our most engaged office is our Madison office. And last year, they had clocked in something like 5,000 to 6,000 volunteer hours in an office of about 300 people. And the San Francisco office has almost 1,000 people, and we were less than that. And so not only do we have like an opportunity to build up this talent pool to grow, originally this was going to be a support hub, and as I mentioned a little earlier, now it's becoming a center for engineering operations and sales and additional growth. But when people don't have to move, they're more invested in their community. So we not only get more out of them as employees, we get more out of them as citizens. And that's just been so inspiring and something that we think about in every office that we open now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, can I actually have the two of you speak to that too, just the benefit of kind of, I don't know, letting people work where they grew up or where their families are or things like that. Like what are you seeing or what are you hearing from employees that, or maybe even the cost of living is lower so they can have a slightly different quality of life in these places than they would in, San Jose or San Francisco.
Yeah, I mean, Reno has been such a unique place, and Nevada's a unique place. I don't know if everybody that's from out of state knows this, but we have 0% state tax. Mm-hmm. And so that's a huge recruiting tool. And I know that's not just for Switch, but that's for a lot of other tech companies in the area. I moved from Denver. While that's not California state taxes, it's still, you literally move across that moving van across the state line and you get a raise. We're fortunate that because we've got sites in both locations, we've had some employees in Las Vegas that have wanted to relocate to Reno because it's a nice community, it's a nice sized community. And one of the interesting things, and I'm sure you both have found it, when you open a new office, it's an opportunity for employees that do want to relocate to actually be in early and have some maybe career advancement opportunities that they might not get in a more established office with a lot more senior people. So that's been very attractive as well to our employees that are looking for growth opportunities, and they can do so because we've got, in our case, multiple locations in the same state. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly, the cost of living is one piece, but I think the piece that we're finding ever more present is the people who are coming out of college today want a different definition of life and success. And while there's still the aspirational, I'm going to go to Silicon Valley and make it, and I say this as I'm a trustee at my alma mater, which is in the Midwest as well, we're seeing a lot more young people who are saying they want to be attached to a community. Mm-hmm. They want to know the names of their neighbors. They want to live somewhere that's connected to a couple of generations of their family. And that is, when we look at places like the University of Nebraska, people are dying to stay in Lincoln. They love Lincoln, and Lincoln's great. If you haven't been to Lincoln lately,
great, yeah.
you got to go. And it's a perception of what work-life integration looks like for, I'm not going to say the millennial, because the millennials are getting, but the next generation that's coming out of school right now, they want a very different opportunity set. And the challenges that are faced in the Midwest and in rural areas are challenges that generation, whether it's sustainability, true equity and opportunity for all, those are problems that are in those areas, and they want to be connected to that beyond just kind of their day-to-day job. And we're finding a lot of people who are coming out and doing our internships in places like Seattle and San Francisco and New York, and then when they look at their full-time jobs, they want to go back to, they want to go to the Midwest. They want to go to one of our other offices in maybe a smaller area. So we do see some of the people that are getting to that sort of home buying age, and they're using, apps like Zillow and seeing that, buying a home in Seattle or San Francisco today, or even Denver, is getting very, very difficult. And so we see some of that, but we're seeing a lot more uptake on these locations from our university recruiting program.
I think we have time for maybe like 2 quick questions. If anyone has a question, go ahead.
Yeah. So for Dan and Tiffany, because you guys have opened up offices outside of your headquarters, I'm curious, after you opened up those offices, whether it's in Madison or via acquisitions, Dan, on your side, how many employees from HQ ended up saying, "Hey, wait a minute, I want to live there"? And so how many people have actually moved from Seattle or the Bay Area to some of your other locations?
For our Madison office, I don't think we've had an employee from the San Francisco office actually move to the Madison office, but I think that has a lot to do with, surprisingly enough, a lot of our workforce in San Francisco, we didn't have a lot of people from Wisconsin. We have had people from the Wisconsin office move to San Francisco almost as if it was a study abroad program. And they're usually always, they come and it's because it's so expensive, and they're like, well, I'll get this done in my 20s. And they come and they pay the astronomical rent, and then they move back. So that's kind of how it works for us in that office. We have had people in our office move to some of our more global locations. We've had people move to Dublin. We've had people move to Copenhagen. Well, actually, we had someone from the Madison office move to Copenhagen, just didn't move to San Francisco.
I'd break it into a couple populations. So we've had a handful. I would say in Lincoln, we've had about 4 employees that transferred from another location into Lincoln. Cincinnati, a little bit more, probably about 10. So that's the population of what, returnees. We've also had several leadership moves where we've actively moved people from other offices to get that next promotion. And that's one of the pieces that, I came of age in the GE sort of PepsiCo era of, you got moved around a lot earlier in your career. And we're trying to do that a lot actively at Zillow Group now, of people who want to get that director promotion. Hey, go run the sales team for .loop. And we had somebody who moved from Orange County to Cincinnati to pursue a promotion, and she's doing fantastic and enjoying it. And, we'll likely move to another location down the road, but we've certainly probably had about another handful of sort of aspirational moves that we've made outside of it. And then we're using it actually as a recruiting tool. So when we recruit people now off of college campuses, we're advertising that, with Zillow Group today, you can live in any one of 9 cities across the country, and we match you based on kind of your preference and the need to those cities. But then we open it up that we'll pay for relocation to another Zillow Group location if you're interested in moving as you get kind of deeper into your career. And, that's playing really well on college campuses. We'll see how it plays out kind of long term, but hey, if it gets them in the door in the first place, we win, so I'm happy.
I think we can take one more question if anyone has one. Go ahead.
Can you talk a little more about, I think you said when you go to a new area, can you talk a little more about what you were saying, when you go into another area, one of the first things you do is open a foundation and plug into the community that way. Really elaborate on that, things you've learned that work, things you learned that don't work, and how you treat that strategy in the future.
So the foundation, the Zendesk Neighbor Foundation started in 2015. When we IPO'd in 2014, we put in our filing work that we were going to seed 1% of the money raised on IPO day to a foundation, and that came out to roughly about $1 million. And we felt really strongly about this. One, our three founders are just awesome, and I don't know if it's a Danish thing or not, but they really care about taking care of people. They care about creating ecosystems. And so beyond that, though, where we're located in San Francisco is a neighborhood called the Tenderloin that is a super high need, in-your-face neighborhood. I mean, you are walking across needles and, you know, homelessness. It's just this thing in San Francisco right now. It's so expensive to live there, but the poverty is also like so intense, and the Tenderloin is like ground zero for that. And so I used to be a reporter for a newspaper in San Francisco. And when I joined Zendesk and we were moving to this neighborhood, one of the concerns I had that I was very vocal about was like, we can't be that tech company that moves to the poorest neighborhood in San Francisco and never interacts with the neighborhood. And fortunately got a lot of buy-in from our executives. And so that's how the first iteration of the foundation started. Then as our other offices opened, they felt like the foundation and the CSR resources that came with it anchored their culture. So we're really lucky at Zendesk that what everyone, like we don't offer free lunch, not in the Tenderloin. The only office we have free lunch in is Copenhagen because it's a cultural thing there. But in the Tenderloin, we're like, nope, go support small businesses, get out there, you know, and we'll keep you safe and we'll counsel you through some of the things you see, but we're here to be part of this ecosystem. And I kid you not, like I have a security meeting when I get back. And I actually have a meeting with our Tenderloin Station Police Captain on Thursday at 10:30. I should live stream it for all of you. But it is just this thing, you know, and I've been there 8 years, and so I'm probably kind of used to it. But we found that nonetheless, it creates this community-driven culture. And all of our offices, once they get going, once they get their snacks squared away, once they have their bar stocked, they're like, okay, now what? And what it is they want to be in their neighborhoods and they want money to invest in their communities. Because the other kind of thing in opening up these global offices is we're getting the same thing. It's not cities where everyone's from somewhere else most of the time. And so they want to be anchored and invested in the communities where these offices are opened.
Okay, sorry we're at time, but they're all doing breakout sessions after this, so you can find them and ask them more. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Yep. So next slide. We can go over the breakout. So this